Linda, I'm so excited. I'm hosting my annual Influencer Christmas Spectacular at your place this year. But I had reached my limit. My daughter-in-law Jessica stood in my kitchen, her phone already out, probably composing the Instagram announcement in her head. She didn't ask. She never asked. For 3 years, since she married my son Marcus, she'd been treating my home like her personal content studio. My beautiful house in Napa Valley, the one my late husband Robert and I built together, had become just another backdrop for her lifestyle brand. "Jessica," I said carefully, setting down my coffee mug. "What do you mean? Hosting here?" She waved her hand dismissively, her acrylic nails catching the morning light. "Oh, just my usual Christmas collab. It'll be 30 of my closest creator friends. We're doing a whole luxury Christmas in wine country theme. The engagement is going to be insane." She was already pacing, planning. We'll need the dining room for the feast tablescape, the living room for the gift exchange shoot, and obviously the backyard for the golden hour content. "Oh, and I'll need you to move your car because it's not really on brand." My car. Not on brand. In my own driveway. "When were you planning to ask me about this?" I kept my voice level. Jessica laughed, that tinkling sound she used in her videos. "Mom, come on! You always say, 'Your home is our home.' Besides, think of the exposure for the neighborhood." I'm tagging the location. "Your house could become Instagram famous." Our home. That word pierced me like a dagger. For 3 years, I'd watched this pattern repeat. Jessica would announce she was creating content in my home, usually after she'd already posted about it to her 500,000 followers. The first time, she'd filmed a morning routine video in my kitchen without asking, rearranging all my carefully organized cabinets because they looked cluttered on camera. When I'd objected, Marcus had said, "Mom, she's building her career. Can't you be supportive?" The second time, she'd hosted a girls' brunch brand partnership, leaving my dining room covered in confetti and ring lights. I'd found sponsored skincare products in my bathroom cabinet for weeks. "It's just stuff, Mom," Marcus had said when I complained. She made $3,000 from that post. The third time, she'd done a whole house tour of my home, without my permission, showing my bedroom, my late husband's study, even the photos on my walls. Strangers were commenting on my furniture, my decor choices, my life. When I'd called Marcus, upset, he'd sighed. "You're being dramatic. It's not like she showed your address." But she'd shown everything else. I'd retired from teaching 2 years ago, excited to finally have time for myself, time to travel, to take those watercolor classes I'd always wanted, to volunteer at the literacy center. Instead, I'd spent those 2 years being Jessica's unpaid assistant. She'd call me to help with her content, which meant holding her ring light for 3 hours while she filmed herself trying on clothes. She'd drop off her designer handbags for me to store because her apartment was too small. She'd asked me to meal prep her clean eating content, then barely touch the food after she'd photographed it. And now this, 30 influencers, in my home, for Christmas. "Jessica," I said slowly, "how long have you been planning this?" "Oh, like 2 months? I announced it on my stories last week. The RSVPs have been amazing. Taylor, the one with 2 million followers, she's coming. And Brittany, from that lifestyle blog. This is literally the biggest thing I've ever done." She was typing on her phone, not even looking at me. "I'll need you to deep clean before they arrive. Content creators have very high standards." "Oh, and can you make those little quiche things you made last year? They photographed really well. You announced it last week." "Yeah, the engagement was incredible. I've already lined up 3 brand partnerships. There's a champagne company sending cases, a luxury candle brand doing gift bags, and a catering company wants to sponsor the dinner in exchange for tags. Although, honestly, your cooking is better, so maybe we just do the champagne and candles?" She finally looked up. "What? You announced that you were hosting a party at my house without asking me 2 months ago?" Jessica's perfectly microbladed eyebrows drew together. "Mom, you're always here. It's not like you have plans. Don't you think it's time you got excited about something? This could be fun for you. You could be in some of the content. My followers love wholesome mom content. Always here, no plans, wholesome mom content." That's when I realized, to Jessica, I wasn't a person. I was a location, a prop, a supporting character in her narrative. "You're right," I said, and watched her face light up. I should be excited about something. "Yes, exactly. I knew you'd understand once you, which is why I'm so glad I already have plans." Her smile froze. "What?" "I won't be here for Christmas." The silence that followed was beautiful. Jessica's phone actually stopped mid-swipe. "What do you mean you won't be here?" I took a sip of my coffee, letting the moment stretch. 3 years of being taken for granted, and now this single moment of watching her realize she'd miscalculated. "I'm going to Bali. I leave December 20th, back January 3rd. I booked it 6 months ago, right after you used my guest room for that sleepwear brand shoot without asking and left makeup stains on my mother's antique quilt. But the party is Christmas Eve." "I know, Linda. She never called me Mom unless she wanted something." "Linda, you can't be serious. I've already announced this. I have brand commitments. People are flying in." "That sounds like something you should have confirmed with me before announcing it." Her face was cycling through emotions, shock, disbelief, and now landing on anger. "This is so selfish. This is my career, Linda. My income. Do you know how much I invested in this? Did you invest in asking the homeowner's permission?" "I can't believe this." She was scrolling through her phone frantically. "I have to call Marcus. He'll talk sense into you." "Marcus is at work." "Then I'll go to his office." "This is insane. You're being completely unreasonable." She grabbed her designer purse, the one I'd been storing in my closet because her apartment was too cramped, and headed for the door. "I thought you were supportive of my dreams, Linda. I thought you were better than this." The door slammed. I sat in my kitchen, in the house I'd lived in for 30 years, and felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Peace. But I knew it wouldn't last. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. "Marcus." "Mom, what's this about you sabotaging Jessica's event?" "Sabotaging." Not, "Hi, Mom. How are you?" Not, "Can we talk about this?" Sabotaging. "Hi, honey. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How's work?" "Mom." His voice had that tone, the one that meant he was handling me, the way he handled difficult clients at his tech company. "Jessica is really upset. She says you're refusing to let her use the house for her Christmas event." "I'm not refusing anything. I'm simply not going to be there. I have a vacation planned." "Since when?" "Since 6 months ago. I sent you the itinerary in June. You said cool, Mom, and didn't respond." Silence. He was probably scrolling through his texts, realizing I was right. "Well, can't you reschedule?" "My vacation?" "It's important to Jessica's career, Mom. She has brand deals. People are depending on her." "Marcus, she announced a party at my house without asking me. Surely you see the problem with that? She probably assumed you'd be okay with it. You've let her film there before." "Let her." As if I'd had any choice. As if saying no wouldn't have resulted in exactly this conversation, where I was the unreasonable one. "Honey, do you remember when you were 16 and you wanted to have a party while Dad and I were away for our anniversary? That's different. You asked us 3 months in advance. You gave us a list of who was coming. You promised to clean up after, and we said no because it was our house and we weren't comfortable with it. Do you remember what you did?" Silence. "You accepted it. Because you understood that being family doesn't mean having unlimited access to someone else's property." "Mom, that was when I was a kid. This is Jessica's job. Then she should approach it professionally, which includes securing the venue before announcing the event." "You're really going to do this? You're going to humiliate her in front of her followers?" And there it was. The real issue. Not that Jessica had been presumptuous, not that she'd been taking advantage of me for years, but that I might embarrass her publicly. "Marcus, I love you. But I'm going to Bali. If Jessica wants to explain to her followers why the location changed, that's between her and them. Maybe she can tell them she forgot to actually book the venue." "This is so unlike you." "Maybe that's the problem." I hung up. My hand was shaking. Confrontation had never been my strong suit. 27 years of teaching middle school had given me a thick skin, but with my own child, I'd always wanted to be the supportive mom, the understanding one. Robert used to joke that I'd probably apologize if someone robbed our house. But Robert was gone, And I'd spent 3 years trying to be enough for Marcus, trying to make up for the fact that he'd lost his father. I'd said yes to every request, every favor, every time Jessica needed just a little help, and somehow, that had turned into being treated like hired help in my own home. My phone buzzed. A text from Carol, my best friend since college. I just saw Jessica's Instagram story. She's at Marcus's office dealing with a family emergency. Want me to come over? Carol. The woman who'd held me together after Robert died, who'd helped me box up his clothes when I couldn't do it alone, who'd been the one to suggest I retire early and start living for myself. Carol, who'd been warning me about Jessica's behavior for 2 years. Come over, bring wine. She arrived 30 minutes later with a bottle of Napa Valley Red and a box of pastries from our favorite bakery. Spill, she said, settling into my couch. What happened? I told her everything. Jessica's announcement, Marcus's call, the whole 3 years of slow boundary erosion. Carol listened, sipping her wine, nodding occasionally. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Good, she finally said. Good? Linda, I've watched you disappear over the last 3 years. Every time we made plans, you'd cancel because Jessica needed you. Every time I suggested we take a trip, you'd say you couldn't leave because what if Marcus needed something? You've been so afraid of being a burden that you let yourself become one to yourself. That's harsh. It's true. She leaned forward. You're one of the smartest, most capable women I know. You raised an amazing kid while teaching full-time. You helped Robert build his business. You volunteered for every cause you believed in. And for the last 3 years, you've been… What? A ring light holder? When she put it like that, so what do I do? Carol smiled. You go to Bali, and you let the chips fall where they may. Marcus is so angry. Marcus is 32 years old. He'll survive his mother taking a vacation. Jessica has brand commitments. Jessica made commitments using someone else's property without permission. That's on her. They're going to hate me. Maybe. Or maybe they'll learn that you're a person with your own life. Carol refilled our glasses. Tell me about Bali. When do you leave? We spent the next hour planning. Carol insisted on driving me to the airport. She wanted a list of everything I might need. She was, as always, my rock. But that night, alone in my house, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining Christmas Jessica showing up with 30 influencers, finding an empty house. The posts, the drama, the fallout. Had I made a mistake? My phone lit up. A text from Marcus. Not calling this time, just a text. Mom, please reconsider. Jessica is really struggling with this. Her career depends on it. Can we talk tomorrow? I stared at the message for a long time. The old me would have caved, would have canceled Bali, would have spent Christmas catering to 30 strangers in my own home, would have smiled for the camera while dying inside. But something had changed. Maybe it was that word, always here. No plans. Maybe it was 3 years of accumulated disrespect. Maybe it was Carol's words, you've been disappearing. I typed back, we can talk. Come to lunch tomorrow, just you. The next morning, I made Marcus's favorite chicken salad sandwiches with grapes and pecans, the way I'd made them for his school lunches. He arrived at noon, looking tired. The Silicon Valley hustle was aging him. Hi, honey. Hey, Mom. He kissed my cheek, but it was perfunctory. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten thousands of meals as a family. How's work? Busy. We're launching a new product in Q1. He picked at his sandwich. Mom. About Christmas. Let's talk about the last 3 years first. He looked up, surprised. Do you remember the last time we had a conversation that wasn't about Jessica's needs, or her career, or how I could help her? Mom, that's not fair. We talk about lots of things. When? He opened his mouth, closed it. Marcus. I've held her ring light for hours. I've stored her PR packages. I've meal prepped food she didn't eat. I've had strangers commenting on my bedroom because she filmed it without asking, and I did all of it because I thought I was being supportive. I thought that's what you needed from me after Dad died. Mom. But somewhere along the way, support became expectation, and expectation became entitlement, and now Jessica is announcing events at my house without asking me, and you're calling it sabotage when I have other plans. Marcus was quiet, really quiet, for the first time in this conversation. I don't think you're trying to hurt me, I continued. I think you love Jessica, and you want her to succeed, and that's wonderful. But Marcus, I'm your mother. Not an employee, not a free venue, not content. Is this about Dad? The question caught me off guard. What? Are you angry that I moved on? That I got married? Because Jessica thinks what? He hesitated. She thinks you're jealous of her, that you can't handle me having a wife. I actually laughed, which wasn't the reaction he expected. Honey, I am thrilled you found someone you love. I loved Jessica when you first brought her home. She was funny and ambitious and made you happy. But this, I gestured around my kitchen, this isn't about jealousy. This is about respect. She doesn't respect me, Marcus. And worse, I don't think you've noticed. That's not true. She's always saying how grateful she is. Grateful enough to ask before using my home? Grateful enough to consider that I might have my own plans? Grateful enough to see me as a person and not a location? He flinched at that last one. I'm going to Bali, I said firmly. I'm leaving December 20th. If Jessica wants to host her event, she needs to find another venue. That's not negotiable. She can't afford. Then she should have budgeted for a venue when she was making those brand deals. Mom, please. I'm asking you. As your son, please do this for me. And there it was. The guilt card. The one I'd never been able to resist. But this time, I saw it for what it was. Manipulation. Not malicious, maybe, but manipulation nonetheless. No, he stood up. I can't believe you're being this selfish. Marcus, I have done everything for you. I put you through college. I helped with your down payment. I've babysat Jessica's career for 3 years. I think I've earned one vacation. You're going to regret this. He headed for the door. Maybe, but I'm going. The door closed behind him. Not slammed, like Jessica's, just closed, like a period at the end of a sentence. I sat in my kitchen and cried, not because I regretted my decision, but because it hurt to draw a line with your own child, even when you knew you had to. Carol came over that evening with takeout Thai food. How'd it go? I'm either the worst mother in the world, or I'm finally standing up for myself. I can't tell which. Definitely the second one. She handed me spring rolls. Want to hear something interesting? Always. I looked at Jessica's Instagram after you told me about this. She posted a story this morning. Something about navigating family drama and when people don't understand your vision. Very vague, very victim-y. Great. But here's the thing, the comments are split. Half are supporting her, but half are asking why she didn't book a proper venue. A few even pointed out that announcing an event at someone else's house without permission is weird. Really? The internet has spoken. You're not crazy. Carol smiled. Now, let's talk about what you need to do before you leave. Pack? Lock up. Her smile turned devious. Linda, you need to Linda-proof this house. What do you mean? I mean, what's to stop Jessica from showing up on Christmas Eve with her influencer friends anyway? You'll be in Bali. How would you even know? The thought hadn't occurred to me. But Carol was right. Jessica had my spare key. She knew my security code. She could absolutely just show up. What do I do? Carol pulled out her phone. First, we're changing your locks tomorrow. Second, we're updating your security system. Third, you're putting anything valuable in your bedroom and locking that door too. And fourth, she showed me her screen. We're installing cameras. Cameras? Front door, back door, living room. Video doorbells, the works. I already called the company they can install on Friday. She grinned. If she shows up, you'll have footage. And trust me, that's better than any argument. This feels so premeditated. It's called protecting your boundaries. Jessica's had 3 years of your trust. She's lost that privilege. We spent the next few days executing Carol's plan. New locks, new security code, video cameras installed. I packed my most precious items, my mother's jewelry, Robert's watches, the photo albums, into my bedroom closet and bought a new lock for that door too. This is ridiculous, I said, screwing in the bedroom lock. I'm fortifying my house against my own daughter-in-law. You're fortifying your house against someone who's shown she won't respect your boundaries, Carol corrected. Big difference. Marcus didn't call, didn't text, The silence felt like its own kind of punishment. But Jessica did text, 3 days before I left. "Linda, we need to talk. Can I come by?" I almost said no. But curiosity won. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. She arrived with coffee from Starbucks, an obvious peace offering. She looked perfect, as always, hair professionally styled, makeup flawless, wearing an outfit that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. "Linda, hi." She handed me the coffee. Skinny vanilla latte, not even my order. "Thanks for seeing me." We sat in my living room, the formal one I'd barely used since Robert died. "I wanted to apologize," Jessica started, and for a moment, I felt hope. "I should have been more sensitive to your feelings. I didn't realize you'd feel so territorial about the house." Territorial. Not "I'm sorry I didn't ask." Not "I was wrong." Territorial. "Jessica. But I was hoping we could find a compromise." She pulled out her phone. "What if I pay you? Like a venue rental fee? I've looked at comparable properties and I could give you $3,000 for the day. That's actually a great deal. Most places are charging 5 or 6. She was trying to pay me to use my own house. "I'm not looking for money, Jessica." "Then what? What do you want?" Her frustration was showing now, cracks in the perfect influencer facade. "I've said I'm sorry. I'm offering to pay you. I don't understand what else you expect from me. I expect you to understand that this is my home. Not a venue, not a location. My home. But you're not even going to be here." She was standing now, pacing. "You're going to Bali. The house would just be sitting empty anyway. How does it hurt you if I use it?" "Because you didn't ask." "I'm asking now." "You're asking after you already announced it. After you made commitments. After you backed yourself into a corner. That's not asking, Jessica. That's cornering me into saying yes." She stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. And maybe I was. Maybe in her world, where everything was content and engagement and brand deals, the idea of just respecting someone's space was foreign. "Fine." She grabbed her purse. "I'll figure it out. But don't expect me to forget this, Linda. Don't expect me to just move past you sabotaging my career." After she left, I sat in that formal living room and wondered if I was making the worst mistake of my life. But December 20th came, and I boarded that plane to Bali. Carol drove me to the airport. "You have your phone?" "Yes, Mom," I teased. "You have the camera app downloaded?" "Yes." "You know how to check the footage?" "Carol, I taught technology to middle schoolers for 27 years. I can handle an app." She hugged me tight. "Go have the time of your life. And don't you dare check those cameras until Christmas morning." "I won't." I did. I checked them the first night in Bali, my beautiful resort bungalow in Ubud, surrounded by rice paddies and peace. Nothing. House was dark and empty. I checked them December 23rd, after a day of temple visits and traditional dancing. Still nothing. December 24th. Christmas Eve morning and Bali afternoon in California, I was at a cooking class learning to make traditional Indonesian dishes when my phone started buzzing. Repeatedly. Messages from Marcus, Jessica, even a few numbers I didn't recognize. I excused myself from the class and opened the camera app. There, in my living room, were at least 20 people. Ring lights, camera equipment. Jessica directing people in my kitchen. Someone was sitting on my couch eating. Another person was taking selfies in front of my bookshelf. She'd actually done it. She'd actually brought them to my house. My phone rang. Marcus. "Mom, there's been a misunderstanding," Jessica thought. "Marcus, I'm looking at 20 people in my living room right now." Silence. "How did she get in?" She still had the spare key from when we house-sit last summer. "The key I asked for back?" More silence. I opened the video history and started scrolling. There, December 22nd, evening. Jessica and Marcus's car pulling up. Jessica trying the front door, realizing the locks had been changed. Then, and this made me actually gasp, Marcus, going around back, opening the window in the guest room, the one with the broken lock I'd been meaning to fix. They'd broken in. My son and daughter-in-law had broken into my house. "Mom? Mom, are you there?" "I'm here." My voice sounded strange, even to myself. "Marcus, you broke into my house." "We didn't break in. We needed access." "Jessica has commitments, Mom. Real commitments. She could have lost $50,000 in brand deals. So you committed a crime? Don't be dramatic. It's your house. We're family. I'm in Bali, Marcus. I'm in Bali, and you broke into my empty house and you let 30 strangers inside. I was crying now. Couldn't help it. Do you hear yourself? Do you hear what you're saying? Mom, please, just let this happen. They'll clean up. They'll be careful, Jessica promised. No. I wiped my eyes. Marcus, I want everyone out of my house in 1 hour or I'm calling the police. You wouldn't. Try me. I hung up and immediately called Carol. Hey, how's Bali? You're supposed to be. They broke in. 10 minutes later, Carol was on her way to my house. 20 minutes after that, my doorbell camera showed her arriving, looking like an avenging angel in yoga pants and a Stanford sweatshirt. I watched through the camera as she knocked. Jessica answered, all smiles for the camera still rolling inside. Hi, you must be one of the guests. I'm Linda's friend Carol. I'm here to inform you that you're trespassing, and you have 30 minutes to clear out before I call the police. Jessica's smile didn't waver, but her eyes went hard. This is a private event. In a private home whose owner is in Bali and did not give you permission to be here, I have the Ring camera footage of Marcus breaking in through the guest room window on December 22nd. That's forcible entry. That's a crime. I watched the smile finally crack. I'm going to post this, someone said off camera. This is insane. You told us you had permission. Turn off those cameras, Jessica snapped, and suddenly the professional influencer mask was completely gone. All of you, turn them off. Now. But the internet doesn't work that way. You can't unring that bell. Within 30 minutes, my cameras showed a parade of influencers leaving, most looking confused or angry, cars pulling away, Jessica and Marcus having what looked like a heated argument in my driveway. And finally, everyone gone. Carol did a walkthrough on FaceTime. Minimal damage. Some water rings on your coffee table, someone spilled red wine on the kitchen floor. I'll clean it. But Linda, you need to see this. She showed me Jessica's Instagram story. It was still up. Surprising Christmas drama, when family doesn't support your dreams. Grateful for my amazing friends who showed up anyway. Family first, dream big, Christmas content. But the comments. Oh, the comments. Did you have permission to be there? Girl, this is giving trespassing vibes. How is breaking into someone's house family first? Wait, your MIL didn't know? This is messy. Deleting your brand from my collaborations. This is not it. And then, the one that made me actually laugh out loud. From Taylor, 2M followers. Just left this event. Was told it was at a private estate with permission. Found out owner was out of the country and didn't approve. Unacceptable. Do better. Jessica's biggest guest had just publicly called her out. The post is getting ratioed, Carol said, laughing. She's losing followers in real time. This is beautiful karma. But I wasn't laughing anymore. Because my son had broken into my house. My son had chosen his wife's brand deals over his mother's boundaries. My son had said, don't be dramatic when I'd pointed out the crime. Carol, what do I do? Nothing. You stay in Bali. You enjoy your vacation. You let them sit with what they've done. And when you get back, if they want to apologize, actually apologize, you can decide then if you want to hear it. I stayed in Bali. I took a silversmithing class. I visited waterfalls. I ate the most incredible food I'd ever tasted. I watched the sunset from a beach in Sanur and felt more at peace than I had in 3 years. But I also watched the fallout unfold on Instagram. Jessica deleted the story, but screenshots lived forever. A Reddit thread appeared. Influencer breaks into MIL's house for Christmas content. It had 50,000 upvotes. BuzzFeed wrote an article. A few commentary YouTubers made videos. Jessica's follower count dropped from 500,000 to 380,000 inches a week. 3 of her brand deals were publicly canceled. And Marcus. Marcus texted me every day. Day 1, Mom, please call me. We need to fix this. Day 3, Jessica is getting death threats. People are calling her work. This has gone too far. Day 5, I didn't know it would become this. I thought we were helping. I'm sorry. Day 7, please. Mom, I need to talk to you. I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to punish him, but because I didn't know what to say. Because I was still processing the fact that my son, who I'd raised to respect others, who I'd taught right from wrong, had broken into my house. But on Christmas morning, as I sat on my bungalow's private deck watching the sunrise over the rice paddies, my phone rang. Marcus. Not a text, a call. I almost didn't answer. But, "Hi, honey." "Mom." His voice cracked. "Mom, I'm so sorry." And then he was crying. Really crying, like he hadn't since his father's funeral. I watched the footage. Carol sent it to me. I watched myself break in through that window, and Mom, I didn't even think about what I was doing. Jessica said you were being unreasonable, and I believed her. I chose her narrative over asking you, over trusting you, and Mom, I'm so sorry. I was crying too now, couldn't help it. I saw the comments, he continued. I saw what people were saying about Jessica, and my first thought was to defend her, to say people didn't understand. But then I realized they did understand. They saw what I couldn't see. That what we did was wrong. That what she's been doing to you for 3 years was wrong. And that I enabled all of it. Marcus. No, please let me finish. I went back through my texts with you, through our calls, and Mom, I can't remember the last time I asked about your life, your actual life, not about what you could do for us, but about you. Your painting class, your book club, your friends. When did I stop caring about that? When you got busy, that's not an excuse. Dad would be so disappointed in me. That broke something in both of us. We cried together over the phone, thousands of miles apart, both grieving the man we'd lost and the relationship we'd let deteriorate. "Where's Jessica?" I finally asked. "At her mother's. We're taking some space." She's furious at me for not defending her online. She wants me to post something about internet bullying. But Mom, I can't. Because what people are saying isn't bullying. It's accountability. She broke into your house. I helped her. That happened. What are you going to do? I don't know. I love her. But I'm not sure I know her anymore. Or maybe I'm just finally seeing who she's always been. He took a shaky breath. I'm so sorry, Mom. For all of it. For 3 years of expecting you to just be available. For not protecting you. For forgetting that you're not just my mom. You're a person with your own life. I forgive you, I said, and meant it. But Marcus, things have to change. I know. They will. I promise. When you get home, can we talk? Really talk? I'd like that. After we hung up, I sat with the sunrise and let myself feel it all. The hurt, the anger, the love, the hope. Carol was right, I had been disappearing. But maybe, finally, I was coming back. I spent the rest of my vacation actually relaxing. No guilt, no checking cameras, no wondering if I'd made the right choice. I'd drawn my boundary, and the world hadn't ended. It had shifted, yes. But it hadn't ended. When I landed back in California on January 3rd, Carol picked me up from the airport. Welcome home. How do you feel? Different, I said. Good different. She drove me home, and as we pulled into my driveway, I saw Marcus's car parked on the street. He was sitting on my front steps. Want me to stay? Carol asked. No. But thank you. For everything. She hugged me. You did good, Linda. You stood up for yourself. That's not easy. Marcus stood as I approached, looking nervous. He'd lost weight, I noticed. The Silicon Valley hustle or the stress of the last 2 weeks. I couldn't tell. Hi, Mom. Hi, honey. Can we talk? We went inside, to that kitchen table where we'd had so many meals. I made coffee, real coffee. The good stuff, not Starbucks peace offerings. The house looks good, he said. Carol cleaned up. I paid her for her time and the cleaning supplies. It was the least I could do. Thank you. Mom, I've spent the last 2 weeks thinking. About everything. About Jessica. About us. About who I've become. He wrapped his hands around his coffee mug, not drinking, just holding it like an anchor. I'm seeing a therapist. Started right after Christmas. And one of the first things she asked me was, when did you stop trusting your mother's judgment? And I realized when Jessica told me not to. I stayed quiet, let him continue. Jessica has a version of events for everything. A narrative. And she's so good at telling it. so convincing that I just believed her. When you objected to things, she'd tell me you were being difficult, and I believed her. When you set boundaries, she'd say you were being controlling, and I believed her. I never stopped to ask if her version was true. I just accepted it. Why? He looked up at me, eyes red. Because it was easier. Because questioning her meant conflict, and I hate conflict. Because I was afraid that if I disagreed with her, she'd leave. And I loved her, so I chose her narrative over your reality. Do you still love her? I don't know. I know I love who I thought she was. I don't know if that person exists. He finally took a sip of coffee. She's been posting about cancel culture and internet mobs. She's positioning herself as the victim. And when I suggested maybe apologizing to you publicly, she said I was not being supportive. So I moved out. Marcus, I'm staying with a friend from work. Just temporary while I figure things out. I told Jessica I needed time to think. And she told me I was choosing you over her. And Mom, I realized that's exactly what I should have been doing all along. Not over her, but alongside. You're both important to me. But she made it a competition, and I was too blind to see it. We talked for hours. About his dad, about grief, about how loss can make you cling to what you have left. About Jessica, about boundaries, about respect, about the fact that love shouldn't require you to abandon your values. I don't know if we're going to make it, he admitted. Jessica won't go to couples therapy. She says there's nothing wrong with her, that everyone else is the problem. And Mom, I can't live like that. I can't be with someone who can't admit when they're wrong. Whatever you decide, I'm here. Even after everything? You're my son. You made mistakes, but you're owning them. That matters. He hugged me then, really hugged me, and I felt like I had my kid back. Over the next few months, things slowly shifted. Marcus filed for separation in February. Jessica's career never fully recovered, not from the cancellation, but from the lack of trust. Brands didn't want to work with someone who'd publicly broken into someone's house. She tried to rebuild, repositioning herself as a resilience influencer, talking about overcoming obstacles and haters. It didn't land. The internet has a long memory. Marcus moved into his own apartment in March. We started having dinner every Sunday, just the two of us. Sometimes we talked about the mess, but mostly we talked about other things: his work, my watercolor classes, books we were reading, places we wanted to travel. I'm thinking of taking a break from dating, he told me one Sunday over Thai food. I think I need to figure out who I am when I'm not trying to be what someone else wants. That sounds healthy. I learned it from you. In Bali. He smiled. You went and found yourself again. Maybe I need to do the same. Carol and I took up hiking. Every Saturday morning, we'd hit a different trail in Napa Valley, talking about everything and nothing, reclaiming my life in the best way I knew how. And me? I took more classes: painting, pottery, even a creative writing workshop. I volunteered at the Literacy Center twice a week, helping adults learn to read. I adopted a dog from the shelter, a senior golden retriever named Buddy, who loved long walks and afternoon naps. I lived, really lived. Not as someone's mother or someone's content assistant, but as Linda, just Linda. One afternoon in April, I was in my garden planting tomatoes when my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Hi Linda, this is Jessica. I was hoping we could talk. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Part of me was curious. Part of me was still hurt. I showed it to Carol when she came over for wine that evening. What are you going to do? I don't know. What would you do? I'd ask her what she wants to talk about. Don't agree to meet until you know. So I texted back, what did you want to discuss? The response came an hour later. I want to apologize. Really apologize. Not because Marcus wants me to or because it might help my brand. Because I owe you that. Can we meet? Coffee? Your choice of place and time. I thought about it for 3 days. Then I texted back, next Thursday, the Starbucks on Main Street, 10 a.m. She was already there when I arrived, looking different, less polished. Her hair was in a simple ponytail, minimal makeup, wearing jeans and a sweater I recognized from 2 years ago. No ring light, no phone propped up for content. Linda, thank you for coming. We ordered coffee, she remembered, my actual order this time, oat milk latte with vanilla, and sat in the corner, away from other customers. I'm not going to ask you to forgive me, Jessica started. I don't deserve that. But I need you to know that I've spent the last 4 months thinking about who I became, and I hate her. I stayed quiet. I grew up poor. Like, really poor. Food stamps poor. And when I started making money from Instagram, it was like I could finally be someone. Finally matter. And I got so caught up in building this perfect life online that I forgot about real life. I forgot about real people. She wasn't crying, but her voice was thick. I forgot that you weren't a location. You were Marcus's mom. You were a person who'd lost her husband and was trying to figure out her life, and I made it all about me. Yes, you did. I know I broke something between us that can't be fixed. I know Marcus and I are probably over. He served me with papers last week. I know my career is basically done. I know I did this to myself. She finally looked at me. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. Not sorry I got caught. Sorry for what I did, for 3 years of using you. For breaking into your house. For making Marcus choose between us. For all of it. I took a sip of my coffee, letting her words settle. What are you going to do now? I asked. I got a job. A real job. Marketing coordinator for a local winery. 9 to 5. Salary. Benefits. It's weird, punching a clock. But it's stable. And nobody expects me to perform. She smiled a little. I'm also in therapy. Turns out I have some stuff to work through about self-worth and validation. Who knew? That's good. Really. I don't expect you to forgive me, Linda. But I wanted to tell you, to your face, that you were right. About all of it. And I'm sorry it took losing everything for me to see it. We talked for another hour. Not about reconciliation, that ship had sailed, but about lessons learned, about growth, about the person she was trying to become. She told me she'd deleted Instagram. Cold turkey? I asked. Cold turkey. Turns out I'm a lot less anxious when I'm not constantly performing for an audience. When we parted ways, she hugged me. I didn't hug back, but I didn't pull away either. Take care of yourself, Jessica. You too, Linda. And for what it's worth, thank you. For what? For setting a boundary. For showing me that actions have consequences. For teaching me what I clearly didn't learn growing up. She smiled sadly. You were more of a mother to me than mine ever was. I just wish I'd appreciated it while I had it. I watched her walk to her car, no longer the polished influencer, but just a woman trying to figure out her life. And I felt something I didn't expect. Compassion. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But compassion for someone who'd lost their way and was trying to find it again. That night, Marcus came over for our Sunday dinner. Jessica texted me. Said you two talked. We did. How'd it go? Better than expected. I think she's genuinely trying to change. Yeah. He pushed his pasta around his plate. Her lawyer called mine. She's not contesting the divorce. Didn't ask for alimony or anything. Just wants her stuff and to move on. How do you feel about that? Relieved? Sad? Both? He looked up at me. I loved her, Mom. Or I loved who I thought she was. I'm still not sure which. But I think I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. You are. You're strong. You're kind. You're learning. That's all any of us can do. He raised his wine glass. To learning? I clinked mine against his. To learning. June came, and with it my birthday. 60 years old. Carol threw me a party small, just close friends, no drama. Marcus came, bearing a beautiful watercolor set and a card that made me cry. To Mom, it read, "Thank you for teaching me that it's never too late to find yourself again. You're the bravest person I know. Happy birthday. Love, Marcus." We sat in my backyard that evening, just the two of us, watching Buddy chase butterflies. You seem happy, Marcus observed. I am. Happier than I've been in years. Good. You deserve it. He hesitated. I met someone. I'm not dating her or anything. We're just friends. But she's in my pottery class, and she's funny, and she doesn't have any social media, and I wanted you to know. What's her name? Rachel. She's a pediatric nurse. Very normal, very kind, laughs at my terrible jokes. She sounds lovely. Yeah. He smiled. I'm taking it slow. Really slow. But Mom? I'm learning to trust my own judgment again, to see red flags, to know what I want in a partner. And a lot of that is because of what happened with Jessica. Everything happens for a reason? Maybe. Or maybe we just learn from the hard stuff and become better people. Either way, I'm grateful for the lesson. That summer, I took a trip to Italy with Carol. 2 weeks of wine, pasta, art, and laughter. We stood in front of the Sistine Chapel and cried at its beauty. We got lost in Venice and didn't care. We ate gelato for breakfast and stayed up late talking about life. You did it, Carol said one night, on a rooftop in Rome, overlooking the city lights. You found yourself again. We did it, I corrected. I couldn't have done this without you. That's what friends are for. Although next time, maybe we can skip the breaking and entering drama? We laughed until we cried, and I realized something important. I'd spent so long being afraid of being a burden that I'd forgotten the joy of being supported, of having people in your corner, of letting yourself be loved. When I got home, Marcus picked me up from the airport. How was it? Perfect. Absolutely perfect. As we drove home, past vineyards and rolling hills, through the place I'd called home for 30 years, I felt something settle in my chest. Peace. Real peace. Hey, Mom, Marcus said as we pulled into my driveway. Rachel wants to meet you. No pressure. Just coffee sometime. But I told her about you. About everything. And she said any mom who goes to Bali instead of catering a party deserves a medal. I laughed. I like her already. Yeah? Me too? I met Rachel 2 weeks later. She was lovely, warm, genuine, asked me about my life without any agenda. We talked about books and travel and nursing and teaching, and not once did she make me feel like I was being interviewed for the role of mother-in-law. After she left, Marcus lingered. So? What do you think? I think she's wonderful. But more importantly, what do you think? I think I'm falling for her. Slowly, carefully, but falling. He smiled. And I think this time, I'm doing it right. This time, I'm paying attention to red flags. This time, I'm not ignoring warning signs. This time, I'm being the man Dad taught me to be. He'd be so proud of you. I hope so. But Mom, I'm mostly trying to make you proud. Because you're the one who showed me what real strength looks like. You're the one who taught me that setting boundaries isn't mean it's necessary. You're the one who proved that it's never too late to choose yourself. We hugged on my front porch, in the golden California evening light, and I thought about how far we'd both come. About the daughter-in-law who'd pushed me to my limit, and the trip to Bali that changed everything. About boundaries and consequences and learning and growth. About a Christmas that didn't happen the way anyone expected, but led to something better. About finding myself again in the ruins of what I thought I needed to be. And about the simple, revolutionary act of saying no. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for the people you love is to refuse to disappear, to take up space, to go to Bali when everyone expects you to stay home and serve. To remember that you're not just someone's mother or someone's mother-in-law or someone's free venue. You're a person, with dreams and plans and a life that matters. And sometimes, that's worth fighting for, even if it means spending Christmas in Bali. Especially if it means spending Christmas in Bali.